is this person, and warns him that there is an impending flood, that he should gather some people and move to a higher place. The second time that happens, or that is recorded to have happened, is 1500 years later in the Old Testament, the Noah's Ark, book of Genesis, right? God warns Noah, he collects animals, builds an ark, one pair of each species, they go on the board, and then they are saved, and from then on, the whole humanity is repopulated once the earth is cleansed. The third one is the Epic of Manu in India, very similar story. God, in this case Vishnu, comes in a dream to Manu to tell him that, hey, there's going to be a great flood, humanity is wicked, I'm going to cleanse the world, so since you've been a good man, find a path to escape with a few of your people. And that's 200 BC, again, about 1300 years. So Middle East, India, and thousands of kilometers apart, and thousands of years apart. And then there are Native American stories, flood stories, so Ojibwe, the Hopi, and also on the Pacific West Coast. There isn't a timeline here because almost all of the Native American history is orally transmitted, so we don't know when it first started. Same thing, the Great Flood and escape, find and escape for a chosen few people. The second epic or myth that has endured for thousands of years is the sun worship. Started with Amun-Ra, the pinnacle god in the Egyptian pantheon, and he was the Egyptians had multiple gods and hierarchies, and Amun-Ra was the pinnacle at the very top. He's the one who gave life, who brought the annual floods to the Nile, which renewed the earth, which helped the Egyptians to plant their crops and become prosperous. And so that was Amun-Ra. It's over, I think it's again around the 2500, 3000 BCE. The second, in the same neighborhood, is Shamash in Mesopotamia, Iraq, modern day Iraq. Again, the god of wisdom, the sun god, and god of justice. In India, a few hundred years later, is the Surya, the god of sun. Surya literally means sun. It's the sun god, and he usually rides a chariot. He's a handsome fellow. Again, justice, wisdom, knowledge, power. And then in South America, it's the Inti, the Inca god of the sun. And that is around the 1200 AD. So there's about 4,000 years difference between these, but they all, and imagine South America and Iraq. There's no connection between them, and yet they have kind of similar traditions.
They're all one.
Yeah, they were. And all of these built sun temples. They built sun temples. These are the kind of the more famous ones. There are many. Stonehenge, of course, in England is one of the oldest. It's 5000 BCE. It's a sun temple built by the English at that time to worship sun. And all of the sun temples have a circular architecture to signify the circular nature of the universe and the sun. The Karnak temple in Egypt, in Luxor, is a massive complex. I had the opportunity to visit it 10, 12 years ago. Just blew my mind away. The Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, famous one, is really that semicircular place is really called the Temple of the Sun by the Incas. And then you also have, in India there are lots of sun temples. Konark sun temples. Konark, the namesake is here, Mr. Sun. So that's in central India.
Was that what that name means? Sun?
No, Konark is a place. Surya is the sun, the sun god.
So that gentleman's name is?
Gentleman is also Konark. maybe spelled differently, but so,
Is it the Sun Temple?
that's a sun temple. And again, the whole temple is designed like a chariot. So you see on the chariot, it's designed around the sun god carrying his chariot. So that's and then inside the deity is the Surya, and that's chariots, all of stone. So that's sun worship. And the last in my presentation today is the mother goddess. Every culture has had a mother goddess. I'm going to start with the Greek, the goddess Gaia. It's Mother Earth, represents fertility, prosperity, and she's been worshipped by the Greeks for several thousand years.
We don't piss her off.
No. And then there is, Inanna Ishtar in Sumeria, which is, Syria, Lebanon, that part of the world, not far from it's the Mediterranean region and Middle East. Again, goddess of fertility, goddess of prosperity. Then you have Durga in India, another in the pantheon of goddesses and gods in India. Again, she's a goddess of wisdom, strength, power, and that's why she has a lion represented there, and protection. So she's got a trident and so on. And of course, the most famous of all is Mary with baby Jesus, worship almost like a god, but among the Christians, especially the Roman Catholics. So that, my friends, is a short presentation on enduring myths and wisdoms that kind of transcend cultures, regions, times.
One thing about this is that these are all common themes within each individual culture.
Al, can you
This is a
start
common
over?
theme within different cultures. All cultures are basically human-based, which means you have mothers, and their function is essential to maintain the culture. Every culture is dependent on the weather, and the weather cycle is from the sun, which is logical, therefore, that each culture should independently revere the sun in some way or another. As for the first one about the flood myths, it is entirely possible that people copied on that, because the original myth that you spoke of in Mesopotamia from 2100 BC could easily have been translated to other cultures who made up their own stories. And even before 2100 BC, it is likely that a lot of the traditions in Mesopotamia were actually oral, just as they are on the indigenous cultures of more recent days. So there are links between them all. Some of it is logic, they could be descendants of the flood myth could be a descendants of each other.
Thank you, Al. Yeah, I think I agree with you that the first point, that logic, because it's nature and so on, but dependency, I'm not too sure, because from Mesopotamia to the Pacific Northwest, it's kind of hard to have. How would people have communicated at that point? So that's so they probably sprung simultaneously or spontaneously. Is what.
Well, the Pacific Northwest is also subject to a lot of floods, and there historically, the geologists have determined that there's some really nasty big floods happened over the last 2,000 years in the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
Because of volcanic eruptions, Mount St. Helens, or major earthquakes.
Right.
Can I add a little bit to that? One of the theories is that that scientists are trying to put together is they're trying to understand when the last ice age ended. And they're saying that roughly the last ice age ended around 15,000 BCE, around that time frame. So naturally, and don't forget, most of the northern hemisphere was pretty much iced up at that time. So over the time, you can see that the melting had started. Thresholds were probably reached at some point, land thresholds, and then it would be logical to see, especially the Mediterranean, where primarily it's like a basin. You can see how water rushing in from the Atlantic, because at one point, let's not forget that the Straits of Gibraltar were actually sealed. So it was breached at some point. So I don't know when that was, but scientists are basically saying that the Great Flood myths, especially because they are around the 2000 to 4000 BC, these myths, were a result of the melting, the global melting that was starting to happen with the United States. Canada was pretty much under ice.
Yeah.
Right? And we can see that even here by the escarpment by Niagara. That is pretty much all from glacier flows, right?
Yeah.
So we can see that was the case as well. So that's a plausible theory that they're trying to correlate with that.
Could be, yeah. I mean, that's how, people from Asia walked across literally to the Americas, because the Alaska, the Bering Sea was at that time frozen, and they literally could walk across before the ice age.
I think this is a God thing. God gave everybody the same information and they all acted on it. I don't think it's a myth at all. I think God gave the information to everybody that there's a mother figure and that there is the sun. You need the sun, and the sun is what gives us information, and it gives us light, and it gives us nutrition from the earth. It's a God thing. And what else? The flood. He says, okay, let me try and get rid of all the bad people in every area there is. And it doesn't work, because up until today, we still have. But I think sometimes we change our thoughts into maybe that bad things aren't bad. It's a learning experience. So instead of saying, oh, you're bad, you're evil, this and that, try and understand where that person's coming from and what message they have to give, so that you could better yourself from it. You can't change people, but you can get the information from them, just as you can the sun. Like, people are just blocking out the sun. We need to worship the sun. We need the sun. It's not as evil as people portray it. I think it's what do you call that? When it's, I don't know, a negative thing that people say so that you don't do as well. I don't know, with the government, I don't know, it's a word. I can't remember. Anyway, that's what I think. This is a God thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So another comment is, it used to be many civilization, they worshipped fire.
Yeah.
Fire was
Persians
was a big one,
Persians was,
and that came all the way to India.
Yeah, India, fire worship. Yeah.
So as you mentioned, there is some truth
Energy, yeah, heat.
to some of these myths that you're referring to. For example, fire was a source of life,
Right.
helping people to cook, to be able to maneuver at nights. So there is definitely a solid reasons for people transferring these traditions from culture to culture
Right.
over thousands of years.
Yeah. I was told, you probably know this, myself and others, there's a place called Yazd, a city in Iran, which is kind of where the Zoroastrian, the old Persian religion, one of the centers, and they still have fire temples, and one of the temples, they don't remember when the fire was, who started it, and it could be going back several hundred, if not thousand years.
And it still is going on.
Yeah, it's still going on, yeah, it is still going on. It's never been extinguished. It's still been maintained. So.
This is
So are you saying that we should all go there?
Everyone goes
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. Persepolis is on my bucket
Ah, there
list.
we go. Yes,
Yes.
okay, you
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments? All right.
Good.
Thank you.